Her hands were blistered from years of work, but the weight of the toolbox felt light compared to the insults. They laughed when she walked past until a man with silver stars on his shoulders called out her name. And when the crowd realized what it meant, the laughter stopped. The jeers followed her down the hangar floor like shadows. A few men smirked openly, elbowing each other, their whispers sharp enough to cut through the cold morning air. She walked with steady steps, the toolbox swinging from her hand. Her coveralls were stained with grease, her boots scuffed from long miles. In their eyes, she was just the woman with the tools, an oddity they could laugh about over coffee. She didn't look up, didn't answer. The weight of their words was nothing compared to the weight she had carried before. Her silence was not weakness. It was discipline earned in deserts where the horizon shimmered in heat and danger waited. Just beyond the next ridge. Her name was Captain Mara Vance, though none of them knew it. Once, she had worn a flight helmet and answered only to her callsign, Falcon. That name had been whispered over radio channels in the black of night, the sound of hope to soldiers. Pinned down and outnumbered, she had flown in the storms of steel and fire, pulling men from chaos when no one else dared. She had lost friends in those skies, their faces etched into her memory with a clarity that still made her chest ache. Now, back on home soil, she worked in the maintenance wing of the air base, by choice, not demotion. She fixed what others broke, kept the birds in the sky, and did it without asking for thanks. But the young ones didn't know. They saw grease under her nails, not the metal she kept locked away. They saw a woman in oil-stained clothes, not the pilot who had saved lives. And so they laughed. The hangar was busy that day, filled with the metallic tang of fuel and the echo of boots on concrete. As she passed a group of new recruits, one of them muttered, "Guess she missed the sewing workshop." The others chuckled. None noticed the figure walking in from the far end of the hangar until his voice cut through the air. Falcon. The word was spoken with quiet authority, but it carried like a command. Every head turned. The man approaching wore a crisp uniform heavy with ribbons, his shoulders bearing the unmistakable weight of a brigadier general's stars. His gaze was fixed on her, not the recruits. She stopped, toolbox still in hand. "Sir," she said simply, with a nod. He smiled faintly, a rare softness in the steel of his expression. "Didn't think I'd see my best combat pilot hiding in a maintenance bay." A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. The recruits glanced at one another, their smirks fading. The general's voice carried again, this time for all to hear. "For those of you who don't know, Falcon here flew 112 missions under fire. She brought home every crew she could, and for that, she's the reason I'm standing here today." The hangar fell into silence, so deep it seemed the building itself was listening. One by one, the recruits straightened. A few swallowed hard. No one laughed now. She didn't gloat. She didn't even meet their eyes. Instead, she shifted the toolbox to her other hand and said, "Aircraft don't fix themselves, sir." Her voice was calm, steady, a reminder that honor isn't in the applause but in the work done when no one is watching. Later, as the general left, he glanced back at her and said quietly, "Some medals are worn in silence." And that was all. From that day forward, no one in that hangar mocked her again. When she passed, men and women alike stepped aside, not out of fear, but respect. They understood now that greatness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks past in stained coveralls, carrying tools, doing the job no one else will. True strength, they would remember her saying later, is when you can do the hardest things without needing the world to see. Because in the end, the most powerful battles are not fought for glory, but for the people who will never even know your name.